Now, anybody here in favor of a small government? Oh, that was a little bit weak. Anybody here in favor of a small government? There we go, now I'm ready. Anthony Gregory, the editor-in-chief of Ron Paul's Campaign for Liberty, was a guest on my Free Market show. In the middle of one of my rants about big government, Anthony stopped me and said, "Mike, I don't blame the government. I don't blame the politicians. I don't blame the bureaucrats." He paused for a minute and went on to say, "I blame the American people. The government could not get away with outrageous spending and interventions if the American people would refuse to put up with it. Are you willing to put up with it?" Okay, I got the right crowd. You may have seen some of my campaign supporters wearing those Dr. Abolish buttons. At a speech last fall, I made the comment, whereas Ron Paul is known as Dr. No in the U.S. House of Representatives, I will be known as Dr. Abolish in the U.S. Senate. In the short time since that speech, the national debt has grown from 11 trillion, which I thought was staggering at the time, to now over, what's the current amount? Yeah, it's over 13 trillion. And if I can put on my CPA cap for a minute, there's also another $100 trillion in off-balance sheet commitments, which we are going to have to fund. We are past the time of talking about trimming budgets, 2%, 3%. The time has come to abolish entire federal government programs and agencies. I would like to suggest the following. Number one, abolish the Department of Education. In the 1990s, many of you will remember, mainstream Republicans talked about abolishing the Department of Education. Did we do it? No. Instead, we instituted the No Child Left Behind policy. I'm a business professor at UNCG. I've seen the terrible consequences of that government intervention. In education, we need choice. End the government monopoly. Bring the entrepreneurial spirit to education. This will give us more options and reduce cost. 2, abolish deficit spending. Have any of you heard this expression before? If we don't have the money, we can't afford it. Anybody? Your parents ever tell you that? Well, okay, I see a few hands. My parents used to tell me, Mike, if we don't have the money, we can't afford it. Deficit spending leads to higher taxes, a weaker economy, and it burdens future generations with debt. 3, abolish corporate welfare. When businesses have financial problems, they should look to investors, not to taxpayers. Big government in bed with government, what I call cronyism, is a national disgrace. No more corporate bailouts. Number 4, abolish the income tax in the IRS. It is past time to replace the income tax with the fair tax. My friends over here will be glad to talk to you about the embedded costs and so forth that you're already paying. And 5, I suggest abolish the Federal Reserve. When I was a chief financial officer in banking, I saw the shenanigans of the Fed up close. The Federal Reserve is artificially holding down interest rates and printing trillions of dollars. This will lead to high inflation and the destruction of all the savings that you've worked a lifetime trying to accumulate. What is the process for abolishing the Fed? It starts with an audit of the Fed. The first sentence in my book says, socialism is immoral. It is immoral to take money from people who have earned it and give it to people who haven't earned it. I believe in charity, but charity is voluntary. But I am opposed to taking tax dollars, which are taken by force, being used to enrich special interests at the taxpayer's expense. I'll conclude by saying, stop voting for the status quo. Stop voting for big government Democrats and stop voting for big government Republicans. There are candidates on the 2010 ballot, you've seen several of them today, who will abide by the Constitution and who believe in the founding principles of this country. Vote for the people who have earned your vote. I'm Mike Beitler. I will work to earn your vote for U.S. Senate in 2010. Thank you.